Welcome to the Grapefully Yours Wine Podcast. I'm Jim Campanini, co-host with the Wine Butler Mike Pigeon. We're coming from the beautiful headquarters of InsideLowell.com. We have our producer, Teddy Pano. Say hello, Teddy.
Hello.
He's working, and today we have a very special guest. My twin brother, John Campanini, lives in North Smithfield, Rhode Island, and he's known as the King of Zin in Rhode Island. He started making his own homemade wine back in 2011, 2012, when he did his first experimental wine. This was a Pinot Noir. You can see it's called Casa di Campanini, Sol Amore, My Only Love, and he's got a picture of his beautiful wife, my sister-in-law Kathleen Campanini, on there. And then from with his the information that he gained, he started making Zinfandel wines out of the Big River Winery. So, Johnny, not to give you, I know you're very, very modest, but give us a little background on yourself and how you got into the making wine. How did it start?
Well, I had a friend of mine outside of Providence that made his own wine, and I really wanted to learn how to do it. This goes back to 2010. For the first couple of years, I actually assisted him and learned the process. And he was a very good teacher, because one of the things that has served me well that he taught me was the importance of good sanitation and procedure, that you had to follow procedures. But then it was a transition when I went on my own in 2012. I made a lot of mistakes early, but I learned, and I had a serious medical injury in 2015 where I caught Guillain-Barré syndrome, which is a paralytic disease, and I recovered fully from it. But one of the consequences of that was that I had a terrible reaction to sulfites. Now, as you know, Jim, our family always loved wine. We always appreciated it, and we never abused it. But I loved winemaking. I saw it as a way of not only continuing a tradition, but also doing something that I loved. And it became a big communal. Now it's a big communal thing with me. We have about 16 people in my group that make wine every year. But because of the GBS, I just couldn't put sulfates in them, and I thought of actually giving it up. But then my doctor, who had a friend,
sulfites are used to preserve the wine, right?
Sulfites are used to preserve for long-term.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, long-term preservation.
Yeah, you put no sulfites in your wines.
No, mine is all basically organic. And my doctor had a friend of his who was a doctor, and he was kind enough to give me his number. He worked in Mount Sinai Hospital in New York. And believe it or not, he talked to me for half an hour when I called him about, John, you could use all these enzymes, these beautiful, organics to get preservation out of your wine. You're not going to get 10, 15 years like you do out of some of these Barolas and everything else. But he says it'll last up to 4, 5, 6 years if you do it correctly. So he opened my eyes, and again, it became an experimentation, because like he said, based on the quality of your grape and how the fermentation process goes, you're going to have to be a day-to-day chemist to measure and implement. And basically, after it's going on my 13th year now, I have it down pat, so to speak.
Let's just talk. So you talk about the chemistry and everything. You do have a science background. You have a master's degree in plant pathology and entomology, whatever that is. What is that?
That is basically the study of plant diseases and infestations. So you have to have knowledge of not only plants and how they grow, but also the many stressors that can actually affect their health.
Okay, so you made a connection with the Big River Winery, which I have my shirt right here. I mean, I've gone
Yep.
down to East Greenwich, Rhode Island, where the Big River Winery is, and it's a great facility where they have a lot of equipment. I mean, my brother, I don't think could have done this without the equipment that you have down there, and some of the I know that you've invested in it yourself. But tell us a little about that connection in Big River Winery.
My wife's cousin, Jason Arabian, it's his property, and he built a large barn. Everyone thought that he was going to store his cars in it, but he had something else in mind, and that was to continue a tradition that his 5 uncles started years ago, all of Kathleen's uncles, to basically have a wonderful social event built around winemaking. So he asked me, he knew I was making wine for a while, so he asked me to come down in 2013 because he made terrible wine. Tried hard, lots of passion, but he made terrible wine. So since then, it's a beautiful facility, and it's named Big River because in Coventry, that's the name of the large aquifer that actually serves all the people that live in that region. You know, they have well water, and so he named the Big River Winery. And I have to give him credit because he got us all together, and we've worked out schedules because it's winemaking can be as much fun as you want it. And although starting out is not simple, it becomes simple with time, but it's always a great event to keep friends and renew relationships. And once you reap the rewards of a wine that you've made, you're just hooked, and you want to keep doing it year after year.
So, where do you get your grapes? Tell us the process. How
We actually
when you usually start buying grapes, then you have to de-stem them. You do all this at the Big River Winery.
Well, that's a good question. Actually, we were contacted about 2 weeks ago by our supplier. His name is Tony Moretti, and he's been in the wine business for years. He used to run a fruit and produce concern, and now he just runs a wine and spirits facility where he sells all type of equipment and grape for winemaking. He orders.
Providence? Is this in Providence?
Yes, he's located in Providence, and he orders it from 2 sources in California. It all comes from California, mostly Sonoma and Napa. Our 2 biggest sources are Papani Vineyards, which makes exceptional wines. It's been in California, that group, since the early 1930s. And then another one is called Crybaby Vineyards, and they're located outside of Fresno. So they have a different quality wine, and we get our grapes from those 2 sources. They've been very reliable, and we order now, and we usually take delivery around the 3rd week of September. Last year, we did not put up wine last year because many of us had scheduling conflicts, and some of us had medical issues. But we always take delivery around the 3rd week of September. And it's high quality stuff. I mean, that's, as you know about wines, and some years you have a good harvest, other years you've had bad harvest. But for the Zinfandels, which I put up, the last 3 years that I've made it in 18, 19, and 20 have been just exceptional. Now, my cousin Jason and his crew, we have, out of these 15 people, he has his own crew, I have my own crew, and then there's a third crew. My cousin likes to make a couple of white wines and blends, but basically I've stuck to the Old Vine Zinfandel. I really enjoy Old Vine. And Old Vine means that the grapes are harvested from vines that are at least 50 years of age.
And how many the grapes? How many pounds of it, or what is it? Crates? You get it in crates, right?
Yeah, the each crate is about 36 pounds, and 36 pounds will make about 2.5 gallons of juice after you after you crush it and ferment it and what have you. The other thing is that that equals about 12 or 13 bottles. So you get about 12 bottle rack out of every case that you put up. Now, the other thing that we do to extend the juice, because there are a lot of things you learn, but after we ferment and macerate all the grape to get majority of the juice, we actually are able to get about an extra 5 or 6 gallons, because then we do a second press. The Italians used to call it grappa, what have you. I mean, it really is strong alcoholic. But here's what we do. And one of the things that most homeowners don't do, but because of my challenging experience that I learned from it, is that I get about 5 extra gallons. I put up by myself, or my crew puts up about 50 gallons a year. So after that, so then we do a second press with just the grape skins, and we get about 5 gallons of that. Now I save that because one of the mistakes that homeowners make is that they don't fill up their racking bottles to the top, and if you get too much oxygen inside that glass bottle, it not only can sour the wine, but it can, even if you're using sulfates, it can reduce the preservation time, so the longevity of it. So what we do is we use that second pressing to add and top off every one of the bottles, so that, and that's a key component of why I think I've been able to get my organic wines to last like 5 or 6 years.
So it's like the process they use for Amarone. You do the second.
Amarone, yes.
You take the original must and juice, and you pour it over the pumice, all that must and stuff, and it drains down, and you get more extract and concentration. Right. Yeah.
But to go back to initially when you asked me about what's the setup and everything, you need good equipment, and that's why it's good for those that are watching and would like to try making their own wine. You don't have to start off big. I mean, when I first started, I was just making like 6 or 7 gallons because I was doing it all by myself. But the investment is about you can get away with about $500 in the beginning, but if you're making 50 gallons, like altogether, the commune that I work with, we put up about 150 gallons a year, and it'll cost you about $1,000. You need a fermentation tub. You need, of course, the bottles, but you need racking glass to put your wine in after you continue to clarify it.
And you need and you got a distemming machine too, right?
Yeah, we all chipped in to buy a distemming machine, and we got Jason's uncle's original press,
wine press,
which is made out of steel. The fathers built it, or the uncles, I should say, built it, about 70 years ago, and it's still as good as it is. It looks like it came out of the hills of Sicily, but it still works with us. So right now, I can tell you that it costs me to make about 220 bottles of decent wine. My cost is down to about $8.60 a piece. And the thing about it is, it's a labor of love. We enjoy it every time we get together, and it takes about 7 dates a year between the fermentation process, the clarifying, and the bottling. But every time is a feast. We show up there, we do our work, and then we put the hamburgers and steaks on the grill, the calzones, and who makes the tiramisu, and it just becomes a big festival. That's what it should be. It just becomes something where we all stay together, friendships, and
John.
And you were there. I mean, you saw us. You came to one of our events, and
my daughter showed up, and they had the kiosk trucks out there for the food and big tables. Jason's got a beautiful property, and everybody's working side by side. But the big thing about my brother's operation was he watches over them. Everybody's assigned different duties. They got to wear gloves because hygiene is very important. And it was impressed upon me. I saw, all these, my brother, he thought they were in the doctor's office. He's walking. He says, hey, don't touch those grapes unless you have the gloves on. And even with the press, and these guys had to take, because it was a hand press. And they had to keep doing it, and most of them, are college friends and Johnny's friends who do it, So they're our age, and they do it a couple of minutes, and then they need relief, So it was fun to watch it. We're eating and drinking and watching.
It's amazing you say that because I go to Job Lot every year and I buy the rubber gloves. So the first time I brought it down, when my cousin Jason asked me to help him make a better wine, I said, "Where are your gloves?" He says, "What gloves?" I says, "You don't go near my fermentation tub unless you have gloves on." I says, "I don't want you near it." And of course, it's important because although once you crush the grape, I mean, there's all sugar that's being converted to wine after that. And to alcohol, that alcohol can reach at least 20, sometimes as high as 25%. So nothing's going to live in it. But the thing is, after it matures and everything, I mean, you can introduce so many things that can contaminate it. Everything from spiders getting into it to people dipping their hands when they degas it. So it's really critical. And sanitation is really critical. The bottles we have, I have a 4-man team. One is they're all chiefs. Chief of sanitation is Mike Sinertia. Tommy Shawnee is my chief of chemistry. Craig Hotchkiss is my chief of racking, and Johnny Camp is chief of everything.
Yeah. Okay, Mike, you had a question?
No, you just picked up on it. I remember being down there one year, and I couldn't believe as it was fermenting, you had to seal it all the way. And I said, "Why do you seal it so tight?" You said, "Well, if one spider gets in there, it's going to." I couldn't believe it. You have to be so good. Yeah. But another question. You said it was $8.62 a bottle with the price. Does that include the price of the glass? I know glass has gone up. Does that include the price of the bottle too?
Yeah, Mike, and that's a good point because everything, the cost of the grape has gone up. When I first started, the cost of a crate of grape, when I bought that original Pinot Noir that my brother talked about, it was like $31 a case. I'm paying right now for Old Vine Zinfandel grape about $47 a case. And all the chemicals you need, and even the glass bottles. I rotate my bottles so that I don't use any bottles over 3 years old. And sometimes I get bottles. I've gotten bottles from you. I've gotten them from my brother. I mark them on the side. So I know that if they're 1 year old, that I got another season out of them. But it's important because you learn that even glass has porosity in it, and little bits of solids can lead to contamination in the future. So it's if you want to do it right, listen, homemaking can be, as I said before, very simple. But I know a lot of my friends in Providence, they make their own wine, and I graciously tell them, "Oh, it's a nice wine," but when they ask me if I want a couple of bottles, I say no because they rack it too soon, or they just don't follow correct procedure.
So yours ferments for how long?
I keep mine for about 7. It ferments. The first fermentation is about 14 days. There's a science behind it. You have to get the specific gravity of which is all the solids in the juices. Mm-hmm. You have to get down that to a specific gravity of about 1.095. So that usually takes about 12 to 14 days. And then after that, it ferments in the glass bottles. You got to keep clarifying it about every 45 days. But I don't rack it or bottle it for about 7 months.
Wow.
So if I put it up in September, the earliest I've ever done it is like the second week in April. I'm waiting till about May.
Yep.
Right now.
Good, good. And okay, so we got the 2021 Old Vine Zinfandel right here. Beautiful color. Look at that purple. Purple color with crimson highlights. Mike and I are going to taste it. It's got a Big River Winery, John Campanini Vintner, Old Vine Zinfandel. Now, in the past, you've named these bottles. You named them because you're a big ancient Roman history buff, and so he's named a couple of bottles after Caesar's legions and stuff, and he puts labels on them and stuff like that. But what can we expect from a Johnny Camp Zinfandel? What can we expect?
Well, it's really exciting and fun. I mean, you could drink it with a lot of different things, everything from pizza to your little steak on the grill. But the thing that I always wanted to have a wine that, of course, Zinfandels, you want it to be a little fruity, but you want it also to be bold. I love bold wines. That's why I think besides the Zinfandels, I love Malbecs for my own taste buds. But I also like the one thing that I found for my drinking Zins, and when I purchase Zins from wine stores, I love that like final taste, which is a little peppery.
Yes.
And I think with this, back in 2018, the formula that I used, and I learned it from a friend, was to add what you call it's an enzyme. It's called malolactic yeast, and what that malolactic yeast actually produces it increases texture, produces a little silkier.
Yeah.
Because sometimes with the Zinfandels, they can become a little sharp, especially when you're homemaking them, because the alcohol content. I try to keep mine around 13% alcohol, but you can buy Zins as high as 14.9 alcohol, which for me is a little bit, hot. So I get that peppery. Since I've been using this this malolactic yeast at the final racking, I put it in in the 6th month of its fermentation process. Oh my God, I'm starting to get that little almost cacio di pepe like you get in your pasta dish,
Yeah. All right, well, Mike and I, did you try it already?
I did. I think it'd be a good idea. Every year, Johnny, your brother always has a little 4th of July cookout, and he'll only drink American wines because it's the 4th of July. I think this is the year we should feature your Zinfandel. What else could be better than a New England American wine and a good results? And as you said, the last couple of years have been very, very good. They've yielded good results for you. Congratulations.
Well, this has to be one of your best because it's aromatic, but it's got that nice dark cherry black fruit. It's fruit forward, but it's the texture is almost on the creamy side, and it does have that spicy finish. It is very
and like he said, it's a little bold. He wouldn't want any hotter than that, as he said, but it leaves a good aftertaste in your mouth too. It's a good wine. Yeah,
very nice. So
and Mike, I have to tell you the truth, and you know this because my brother is a very tough judge. But in my back in 2013, when I gave him a sampling of my early vintages, he said that very good. He says that you could use it for asphalt tar.
Now, when you make,
so I guess I came a long way.
When you make your next vintage, because these last 2 years have been so successful, will you alter it in any way, trying for a little improvement, or you stay with your same basic recipe for the wine?
The only thing I do now is after following the 4th racking, and racking is a clarification process. You're trying to get rid of all the sediment, the lees, which is the byproduct of the dead yeast. After the yeast have done their work converting the sugar to alcohol, that's the white stuff and the sediment that you see at the bottom of your glass containers. Now, at that point, after about the 5th racking, after you sample, you can tell if it's the pH. I sample the pH, and for homemade wines, you want the pH to be about 3.3. So it's got to be a nice acidic wine. But that's when I might add a little bit of this or a little bit of that. And by that, I mean these enzymes, either to make it a little silkier or to make it a little less acid. And those are things that come only from the process, from learning. I mean, most individuals who just put up a wine, wouldn't know to do that.
Yeah, and the other thing is,
and this one, and my brother knows this because we've talked about it. But the 2018, 2000, if you can find in the wine in your local wine shop any Zins from the Napa or Sonoma area for 2018, 2019, even the Wine Spectator, they say it was the greatest years for good grape growing in the Zinfandel category. So they're and I think these grapes, because the 21, remember, I put that up in 1920 because it took a year, so it's a 21 vintage.
Yeah, and the other thing is, like, going back to the organic, this is pure wine. My brother doesn't use any wood, any oak. So think about the Italians who, and even the Portuguese and Spanish, they try to get that pure expression. They ferment the wines in cement. Or steel vats and stuff. So he does this with in huge glass fermentation things that he seals up and stuff. And so you're tasting, you're getting purity when you drink this. And I must say, he's done a great job. I'd give this 94 points. Would you go that high?
Probably not. 91, 92.
91,
that's a very good wine.
But you're drinking it for free. You're drinking it for free. That counts for 3 points.
Yeah, but if it was 94, he'd be charging $88 a bottle.
He doesn't charge any. He gives it only to his exclusive friends. How many bottles have you received through the years?
A very drinkable wine.
Yeah, very nice.
It's a success.
So for people who can't get Johnny Camp, King of Zin, Zinfandel, okay, what would you recommend for Zinfandel lovers, which is a great wine for July 4th cookouts? Because Zinfandel, if anything that comes close to an American style grape, it's Zinfandel. The Italians call it Primitivo, but the clones that were brought over here from the monks and everything else, they've been in California for 200 years, if not more. So what do you drink as Zinfandel when you run out of your own?
Well, as I told you, I've been experimenting, and I'll share with you 3. I got to tell you, one of the greatest values, and Jimmy, again, we talked about this, was Rombauer.
Yep.
Rombauer makes a really great Zinfandel that you can pick up for like $22, $23. I mean, it really is a good Zinfandel. But one of them that I have, I don't know if you'll be able to see the bottle, but this Napa Valley. I'm going to put it up here and see if you can see it. Keenan. It's called Keenan Zinfandel, 2019. Now that'll cost you. That bottle will cost you about $30 if you can find it, but it's so full-bodied, and it's got that little peppery taste that I talk about in mine that is just exceptional. But it's like all Zinfandels, it just has that like black cherry that you find in your favorite whiskey drink there. I can't think of the name of it, but it's exceptional. It's a good wine. The other one that I really love, which is my go-to, is it's called McNabb.
Oh yeah,
and this is out of Mendocino. Now, it's interesting because Mendocino County is further north of Sonoma. It's one of they call it the Lake County. It's right on the coast, and it's amazing because it's one
a cooler area.
It has cooler area, and this one tastes. It's almost got that taste of a hybrid, like a Pinot Noir and a Zinfandel, because it's just got that plum and everything else. And so those are 2 of my favorite, and the Rombauer. And then the other one that you told me about, Jim, that I've tried, and I've got a couple of bottles downstairs. I didn't bring it up today to show you because it's a little bit more expensive, is the Federalist.
Yeah.
which makes a good one. So there were a lot of good ones, and we've talked about this. It's all your palate, and that's why I tell people I never try to convince them to try this or that, but I say whatever you like. Stay with it and try to improve upon it, because we all have different taste buds.
So I'm holding up the Federalist Zinfandel with George Washington. And now what better bottle to put on your table than George Washington on July 4th, one of the founding fathers. This is from Lodi, the Zinfandel. Now, this one is on sale at the New Hampshire liquor stores, regular $19.95. You can get this for $16.99 right now. But if you see there's one bottle that you're talking about that's higher than this. It's called the Federalist 1776. Mm-hmm. It's a special Zinfandel, probably from a different clone of grapes and stuff, and that costs about $25.99. But there weren't any of those bottles up at the New Hampshire liquor store. So they had this, but we've had this before. But I just say, for the July 4th, for your cookouts, what better thing to put on your table than George Washington? So it's a great buy too at $16.99. So
you can't go wrong with it. You can't go wrong with that. So that's a real good price. I'm locally here. I had to pay about $29 for that. So it's
wow. Yeah.
So Jimmy Campbell, what you could do for the 4th of July is you might be able to give me some of your stash.
Yeah, well, I think Mike and I are going to have this. We're going to finish this bottle of old Johnny Camp Old Vine Zinfandel, and then we'll crack open the Federalist. But this is staying in the archives. This bottle, I took this down from my wall in my wine cellar with special bottles. So we'll probably open this when it's 100 years old, or at least my grandchildren will be. My great grandchildren, they can open it up or something, But listen, I want to thank you very much for coming on today, and hopefully we'll have a new vintage this year that we'll put together.
Yes, we will. We've put it out. We will, and maybe I'll come in studio next time when I get your limo to pick me up.
Any last questions, Mike?
No, congratulations again on the wine, and I suppose newcomers into winemaking that might watch this, your big suggestion would be don't get discouraged in the beginning.
Exactly.
You had a couple of learning experiences. Enjoy it and make it a family tradition. Very Beautiful. Good. Well, salute, everyone. Until next time. May the wine be with you. Salute. Salute. Thank you very much, guys. Take care, Michael. Thanks, Johnny.